After the hero, Sung Jinwoo, saved the world by single-handedly taking down the monarchs of darkness, the world remained in peace for many years. However, after discovering the death of their fellow brethren, absolute beings from outer worlds came to Earth to claim their brothers' remains. With the world's peace at risk again, Jinwoo set out into outer space to prevent the world's end. That was years ago, and now Jinwoo's son Sung Suho has grown up. After risking his life to save innocence, Suho broke the seal on his dormant powers and learned the truth about the war taking place. Now, with the help of Baru, one of his father's most trusted soldiers, Suho sets out to reclaim his prior strength, take down the followers of Itaram on Earth, and eventually join his father in the war against the outer gods. Previously on solo leveling Ragnarok, Suho and his companions were forced to clear a dungeon in Egypt while completing a raid. What they didn't know was that the dungeon was under siege by both the Asura and Scavenger Guild. Suho eventually cleared the dungeon and claimed its treasures. During his journey, he became acquaintances with Ryo Sung, a member of the Asura Guild. Albeit not his fault, many members of the Scavenger Guild died. Their guildmaster, Thomas Andre, renowned as the strongest man in the world of hunters and a man who doesn't take lightly to others touching his possessions, learned about the extermination of his guild members through the Asura Guild and set out for retribution. He eventually arrived in South Korea and confronted Suho. After facing Suho in a quick contest of strength, he revealed to Suho that his best friend, Norma Selner, said that he needed Suho's help to complete the Glacier Dungeon. She also added that by assisting Thomas, he would find clues leading to his mother's whereabouts. Being the closest clue he's gotten since the disappearance of his mother, Suho took Andre up on his offer and decided to join him. Suho, along with Ryo, who accompanied not only as a way to pay back Suho for betraying him, but also to recruit Suho, gathered their gear and weapons. Now prepared, Suho and his allies set out for the Glacier Dungeon. Sung Suho, Ryo Sung, Thomas Andre, along with his assistant Laura, take a private plane and arrive on Facade Island, a very small independent country amongst the United Nations. Due to its small size, they lacked competent hunters. So when a dungeon break occurred on the island, it was quickly eroded by the blue fog and made into a field dungeon. Since it occurred during the early time of the cataclysm, ordinary citizens without an aptitude for magic were turned into mist burns, and the country was destroyed that day. When Suho and the others touched down on the island, they were quickly greeted by Thomas Andre's guild, the Scavenger Guild. They confronted their guildmaster, asking him what took him so long and why he kept them waiting. Enticed by Andre's company, they asked him who Suho and Ryo were, wondering if they were supposed to be reinforcements. Not trying to hide it, the Scavenger Guild members made their dissatisfaction known as they wondered why Andre would bring such weak-looking hunters. They advise Andre that the cold in the dungeon is no joke, informing him that it slowly drains the stamina of hunters. Even being outside the dungeon, the Scavenger Guild hunters had experienced some stamina loss. Looking at Suho and noticing that he wasn't carrying any weapons, they asked what he could do. Laura quickly spoke up and introduced Suho as a Korean C-rank summoning hunter. Taking note, one of the Scavenger Guild members asked Suho if he could summon a fire spirit. Not knowing a lick of English, Ryo translated the scavenger's question in paraphrases, asking if Suho could show his summoning skills. Surprised, Suho took out his shadow key and summoned Essel. Everyone, including Andre, Ryo, and Laura, was shocked to see Essel appear out of Suho's shadow. The same Scavenger Guild member who asked Suho to show his summoning skill was appalled. He had seen B-rank hunters summon puppets, but a C-rank hunter summoning a humanoid pet was unheard of and simply impossible. Another Scavenger member, Derek Johnson, also shared the same sentiment. He was confident in his ability to gauge a person's magical power, And looking at Suho, there was no way that he could possess such a skill with the amount of magic he had. He bet his entire fortune that Suho was at least A rank or higher. Noticing that they were getting too distracted, Andre quickly gathered everyone's attention. Briefing everyone on their situation, Andre assembled his men and they began their expedition. As soon as they stepped foot on the field dungeon, the system immediately notified Suho of the debuff, Curse of Cold, which decreases both attack speed and movement speed by 30%. Luckily for Suho, he had Kandiaru's blessing, and the curse was quickly nullified. But the cold was still brutal, so Suho went to his shop and bought ice bear coats for himself, Essel, and Rio. Suddenly, Andre ordered his men to defend themselves. From the frantic blizzard, arrows began to fly towards Suho and the others. Moving quickly, the scavenger guild got into formation, blocking the arrows with their shields. But the ice magic from the arrows was slowly weakening their defenses. Sensing the nearby ice elves, Andre gathered a tremendous amount of mana in his arm and sent an energy wave towards them and their incoming arrows, causing a huge explosion. As the rest of the scavenger guild rushed towards the ice elves, Suho's senses alerted him of enemies in the opposite direction. Ice golems, there was a group of them. Suho, noticing that they were the real threats, immediately took out his bow and called out to Quay, morphing into an arrow. Noticing them just like Suho, Andre ordered his men to scatter as they prepared for the ice golem's attack. But the ice golems had no interest in attacking the hunter. Their sights were set elsewhere. As one, the ice golem struck the ground, causing an earthquake. At that moment, the floor Suho and the hunters were standing on broke and collapsed, causing them to fall. As they fell, Asil realized where the intense cold and snow were coming from. She alerted Suho, pointing at the dimensional rift below them. Before he fell into the portal, Suho decided to leave a parting gift with their host. Pulling back on his bow, Suho sent Quay flying, telling him to hit whoever he saw first. As Quay took off, the rest of the group continued to fall through the portal. Andre advised everyone to brace themselves with their magic. Suho could barely see Asil or Rio, let alone Andre and the Scavenger Guild members through the winter fog and snow. Following Andre's instructions, Suho quickly shielded himself with his mana and called upon Gray. Using beast possession, he followed his transformation by using his skill, Storm Slash, to break through the icy winds and land on the snow. He looked around and saw that he had been separated from the rest of the group. Looking up at the dimensional rift, he wondered how survivors could have returned from the dungeon, considering the massive fall he and his group had to endure. He and Baru concluded that there must be more than one entrance to the ice dimension, since it wouldn't make sense for the ice golems to create an ice floor over the rift every time hunters arrived. As the two discussed their theory, Suho immediately turned his head and killed an ice kobold. It seems as if his crash landing attracted a lot of unwanted attention, and soon he was surrounded. Calling out to his summons Mino and Tao, the three fighters battled against the ice kobolds and trolls, wiping them out one by one. As Tao was about to kill an ice troll, a black spear suddenly pierced the troll's back, killing it. It turns out that Quay had returned from his mission. Within his hand, he held a young ice elf who seemed to be no more than 10 years old. Above the elf's head floated the name tag Sirka, guardian of the Baruka tribe. Suho was taken aback when he noticed that the ice elf was still breathing. Quay informed his master that he couldn't bear to kill the elf. When Suho asked why, Quay responded that the elf recognized him and asked if he knew the Shadow Monarch. Glad that Quay did not kill the ice elf, Suho ordered his shadows to find him a nearby cave to escape the blizzard. Quay quickly found a cave and led Suho to it. Once there, Suho purchased a bonfire and a potion. Although poisoned by the Kasaka poison from Quay's stinger, the potion was supposed to heal the elf enough to allow it to talk. After regaining consciousness, Suho, surrounded by his intimidating shadows, orders the elf not to make any dumb decisions. Although surrounded, the ice elf doesn't seem scared, and she stares at Suho for a long time. She introduces herself as Circa, a guardian of the Baruka tribe, and asks Suho what his relationship is with Sung Jinwoo, the Shadow Monarch. Cautiously, Baru informs Suho that he doesn't sense the energy of Itaram from within the Ice Child. As Suho carefully chooses his response, Circa, whose eyes had been fixated on Suho's face, suddenly widens as she proclaims that Suho truly looks alike. Worried that Circa put 2 and 2 together and figured out that he was Jinwoo's son, he asks her if she's an enemy of his father. But his worries quickly disappear as Circa sniffs towards Suho, inhaling his scent, and excitedly exclaims that he's the son of Cha-Cha. Confused by this mysterious name, Circa quickly clarifies that she's referring to the human known as Cha-Hein. Surprised, both Beru and Suho's eyes widen and they ask how she knows about Hein. Circa informs the duo that she's a friend of Cha-Hein, the savior of the Ice Elves, also known as the Dragon Maiden. Hearing Circa's words, Beru finally realized how Hein disappeared. Years ago, when Jinwoo and Hein were celebrating their 16th anniversary, they were riding the sunset on Kaisel's back as Jinwoo gave Hein a beautiful necklace made by the shadow dwarves of Jinwoo's army. Just before the couple kissed to signify the high of their anniversary, Jinwoo told Hein to take Kaisel home and that he'll follow right after. Having regained her lost memories of the forgotten timeline, Hein completely understood Jinwoo's words and left with Kaisel. Jinwoo initially gave Kaisel the order to bring Hein home safely. As the dragon left with Hein, Jinwoo turned his attention to the dimensional rift oozing blue mist and hundreds of thousands of soldiers of the Itaram. In response, Jinwoo called upon his shadows, signifying the start of the war between him and the Itaram. At the time, Jinwoo ordered Kaisel to return Hein home safely before returning. Occupied with the war against the Itaram, Jinwoo did not pay much attention when Kaisel did not return. But as Jinwoo and his army pushed the Itaram back and traveled farther and farther from Earth, the distance between dimensions had widened so much that Kaisel's connection gradually weakened and was cut off, similar to Beru. Beru concluded that Hein was probably caught up in a dimensional rift on her way home, causing her to end up in the Glacier Dungeon, to which Circa nodded, confirming the theory. Looking at Circa, Suho asked her where his mother was now. Trusting Circa enough, Suho had her lead them to her village. Along the way, Circa taught Suho a new skill called Elf Steps, a technique where a user applies mana to the soles of their feet to barely hover above the terrain they're walking on. Noticing Suho's ability to quickly learn the technique, Circa confirms that he is truly Hein's son, adding that she always bragged about how talented he was. They eventually reach the village, and both Suho and Beru are shocked to see a giant ice sculpture of Hein and Kaisel. 5 years ago, just as Beru suggested, Hein and Kaisel were indeed caught up in a dimensional rift, with the followers of Itaram appearing, causing countless cracks in the dimension. Kaisel had no other choice but to choose the safest and most stable rift close to them and secure Hein's safety. Hein eventually arrived in the frozen forest. Having been exposed to the blue mist, Hein reawakened as an S-rank hunter and saved Circa's tribe from the ice spirits of the Echo Forest, a sanctuary where spirits run rampant, taking over and killing any ice elf that dares step foot in their presence. The elves of the village rejoiced as they saw Circa return to the village. However, that joy disappeared as soon as they saw Suho. Immediately, they branded their weapons, prepared for battle. But Circa jumped between them and told the villagers that Suho was the son of the Dragon Maiden, Cha-Hein. Taking their time to look at Suho, they realized that Circa was right and put down their weapons. Like before, their smiles quickly returned, and they welcomed Suho with open arms. Taking his time to examine the villagers, Suho noticed all of the elves looked young, as if they were in their early to late teens. They were all also weak, with none of the elves being any higher than B rank. He noted that they were weaker than he thought. Overhearing Suho, Circa explains that there aren't a lot of strong elves in their village because all the capable warriors were called out and killed during the war. The elves and elders left in the village had the responsibility of nurturing Circa's generation into the next warriors, to continue their war against the rulers. However, when the spirits of the Echo Forest suddenly ran rampant, all of the adults except for one died at the hands of the spirits. Looking at Hine's sculpture, Circa stated that Hine became their village's savior. With her black dragon Kaisel, Hine and Kaisel protected the village from the spirits. Circa went on to add that for some reason the spirits of the Echo Forest came out of the forest and started attacking their village. The Echo Forest was a sacred place for the Ice Elves, originally called the Forest of Trial, where adult Ice Elves went through the trial of the warrior to be recognized as brave warriors. However, even while taking the trial, the elves didn't go deeper than the outskirts of the forest because if they went deeper, they could be possessed by the spirits. Since their bodies were highly compatible, they were easy prey for the spirits. It seems that only when the dimensional rifts appeared, the spirits began to run wild and attack the elves indiscriminately. Luckily, Hine appeared and saved them. Using the dagger she received from the elves, Hine protected them along with Kaisel. Trapped in the ice dimension, Hine stayed with the ice elves and acted as both a protector and a mother for the elves. She taught them swordsmanship and raised them as their new elder. Suho asked again where his mother was now. It seems that Hine had headed out after picking up a strange smell from a place within the forest. A place where gray snow fell. Hine spent much time in the village waiting to return home. Whenever she had the chance, she and Kaisel would fly around and search for the rift that brought them to the ice dimension. But it wasn't easy. With the terrible blizzard that obstructed her vision and the countless cracks within the dimension caused by the lack of a monarch within the world, it was tough to find a way home. Hine and Kaisel did not give up, but they also did not have enough time. Eventually, Kaisel's power began to weaken. His connection to Jinwoo was severed due to how far he was from his master, so he began to weaken day by day. Worried about Kaisel, Hine stopped trying to find the gate through the snowstorm. Instead, she decided to trust in Jinwoo and hope that he would find them soon. In the meantime, she began teaching the Ice Elves swordsmanship. It was around this time that Hine discovered the gray snow and went to the Echo Forest to investigate. Having his mother's whereabouts, Suho quickly set out to go and find her. Worried, Circa joined him, serving as his guide. It seems that after Hine left for the Echo Forest, armed human hunters began to enter the ice dimension, as if another gate had opened. Since monsters were initially created to destroy, it made sense that they fought the humans that they encountered. Hine was a rare exception. Thanks to Hine's kind nature and because of the necklace Hine got from her husband, which automatically translated the tongue of monsters, allowing her to communicate, Hine was able to establish a relationship with the Ice Elves. But because other humans could not communicate with monsters, they were just prey to be hunted by the elves. Before killing them, Circa would ask if they knew Sung Jinwoo. Although they could not communicate with humans, Circa at least knew how to pronounce Sung Jinwoo's name. Surprisingly, to Circa, none of the humans knew this name, even though he was the hero of Earth. After receiving the cure for Kasaka's poison, Circa's movements returned to normal, and she was back to her quick and agile self. Together, she and Suho disappeared into the blizzard as they headed to Echo Forest. As they reached their destination, the spirits immediately appeared before them, creating ice golems before attacking Suho's group. Without hesitation, Suho called upon his shadow soldiers, even summoning the kobolds and troll he had fought earlier. Circa looked at Suho in amazement. Although none of Suho's shadows were anywhere close to Kaisel's level, what they lacked in strength, they made up for in numbers. As she supplied support from the backlines shooting arrows, Circa warned Suho that, similar to his shadows, no matter how much he killed the golems, they would continue to rise again and fight. But this was great news for Suho, as both enemies and individuals that could regenerate endlessly, the ice golems acted as an experience farm for Suho. Suho's level continued to rise as he and his shadows marched through the forest, mercilessly smashing and pushing through the swarm of ice golems. Eager to find his mother, Suho led his army, constantly pushing through the countless waves of enemies thrown at him. Watching Suho fight, Circa noted how differently Suho fought compared to his mother. Unlike Haen, who fought gracefully like a dancer, Suho was like a storm, an ongoing barrage of attacks. But the fight was only beginning. Circa warned Suho to watch out as a wave of arrows fell upon his shadow soldiers, freezing and shattering them on contact. When Suho turned in the direction of the arrows, Suho saw ice elves on top of the trees. With a pained expression, Circa told Suho that those were ice elves who had been taken over by the spirits. Their bodies were half frozen with cuts torn by the attacks of the shadow soldiers, with empty eyes filled with pure madness. Suho noticed how similar the ice elves looked to the ice golems. It turns out that they're the same guys. As the overtaken elves fought and got hurt in battle, the spirits patched their wounds with ice and snow, until eventually they became ice golems. Suho put together that these were the elves who shot at them when they first arrived. They distracted them while the ice golems shattered the floor below them. As they came closer to the center of the echo forest, Circa suddenly stopped. She told Suho that if she ventured any further, she would likely get taken over by the spirits. Since their bodies have a high affinity with the spirits, they could easily be controlled by them. Suho asked if there was a way that they could use to keep the spirits away from her. Circa answered and pointed at Suho's coat. She informed Suho that spirits don't get along with ice bears, so the ice elves use their fur to signify the becoming of a warrior. Buying another coat from the shop, Suho immediately handed it over to her. Along with the coat, Suho also handed Circa the Grim Reaper's bow he received from Lim Taegyu. Overjoyed by Suho's kindness, Circa respectfully accepted the gift and put the bow to good use. With a more powerful bow, Circa was able to launch 6 magic arrows instead of her usual 2. Suho followed right after, summoning Quay and sending him flying through the snowstorm to kill the ice elves. Before the spirits could reclaim the ice elves' bodies, Suho used this opportunity to steal their souls and summon new soldiers, preventing the spirits from controlling the ice elves. Releasing some of his shadows, he used the new vacant spots to extract the shadows of the elves. Within that instant, Suho had a small fleet full of shadow archers. At his command, he and his soldiers sent a horde of shadow arrows toward the remaining spirit elves and ice golems. Elsewhere, the scavenger guild members, along with Essel and Rio, were fending off against the spirit ice elves deep within the forest. Unlike Suho, who was able to break out of the snowstorm and land outside the echo forest, the rest of his group fell into the forest from the beginning. Even though they landed safely in the forest, they had no time to rest as they were immediately attacked by the spirits within the forest. Looking at the possessed ice elves, Essel clicked her tongue and shook her head. She remarks that the late Frost Monarch would turn in his grave if he saw elves who specialize in spirit magic being manipulated by the same spirits. Essel knew the true strength of an ice elf. True ice elves possessed the protection of the ice spirits, which allowed them to imbue any weapon they had with the curse of the cold. If an opponent gets hit by their weapon, the area where they were hit would immediately begin to freeze. Essel noted that she was lucky. If it weren't for the ice bear coat she received from Suho, she would have been in danger. Not too far away from her, a scavenger guild member screams in agony about an arrow lodged in his arm. Moving quickly, Essel tore off the arm of the scavenger hunter, then used her bloodstone ability to suck up all the blood contaminated with the cold air. After forming a frozen bloodstone from the member wound, Essel turned to the healer and ordered them to regenerate the arm. Essel shouted toward the scavenger guild to not let themselves get hit or even grazed by the arrows. Due to her experience and charismatic influence, the guild members followed her lead and gathered together one by one, watching each other's backs and fending off the ice elves. As soon as they regained their momentum, the guild members began to look for Thomas Andre. He was nowhere to be seen. While they searched for their guild masters, Essel searched for Suho. But suddenly she felt an eerie sensation. That's when she saw it. Gray snow. But the moment she noticed it, she realized what it truly was. Staring at it, Essel realized that it was ashes from burning corpses. But how was that possible in this bitter cold? The more information she gained from the ash, the more the silent fear built within her. The energy of the dragon race was emanating from the ash. She looked around urgently for an explanation. Where more gray ash fell, Essel could feel a rift leading to the world of the dragons. Even though all the dragons were slain by Jinwoo years ago, Essel still worried about the chance. She exclaimed back to the hunters that they needed to get out of the forest immediately. But it was too late. As Essel turned around, her eyes saw the silhouette of a dragon. From the gray blizzard, an ice dragon emerged. Without hesitation, Essel and the hunters began to run. They were no match for a dragon. But the dragon knew this well itself and let out a terrifying roar, causing everyone to stop in their tracks in fear. Dragon fear. Essel tried to move her body, cold sweat dripping from her forehead as the dragon drew closer. As soon as all hope seemed lost, suddenly another dragon flew to the side of the ice dragon and crashed into it, causing a shockwave that sent Essel and the hunters flying backwards. Essel looked on in confusion and fear. Her eyes locked on the battle beginning to commence. The second dragon, in a fighting stance, emitting black steam, looked very familiar. On top of that dragon rode a person. As Essel tried to collect herself, the person asked if Essel could stand. They were far and covered by the storm, but from the silhouette, Essel could see a woman with daggers in both hands. That concludes part 1 of the Glacier Dungeon arc. If you truly enjoyed the video and want to see more Ragnarok recaps, make sure to turn on notifications so you're informed when new videos come out. Help this video get up to 50 likes for part 2 to come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.